When I was 10 years old, I struggled with race anxiety, and that carried through a lot of my career. So I've, over the years, learned ways to manage my nerves, and I also reach out to other people to find out what they do to manage their pre-race anxiety. So pre-race anxiety, it's something that a lot of athletes deal with. And I was actually on this track when I was 10 years old racing my first big track meet, and I came over to my dad and I said, I'm not going to race today. I'm sick. I have a stomach ache. Can we go home? And he kind of called me out on it and said, are you nervous? And I pretended I wasn't. He said, that's fine, but you know, your sister's going to race. Yeah. So I was like, well, I got to race. Can't let the little sister race. And in fact, he was right. I did have a case of the nerves, and for many years it actually got worse before it got better. And lots of stories, but you know, 2 of them I ended up actually in the ambulance, on IV, in the hospital afterwards because I collapsed on course. But I look back and I think I had myself completely worked up into an absolute out of control state. And I had to take a step back at that point and ask myself, why was I doing this if it was making me so nervous and sucking the enjoyment out of it? So I had to really shift perspectives and come to terms with the fact that it's not the end of the world if I have a bad race, and my parents will still love me and life goes on. So I still get nerves. I've learned strategies. I'm curious about you guys. Jess, have you had problems managing nerves, and if so, what do you do to control them?
I'm not super nervous, but I do have a lot of trouble with negative self-talk. So I will talk myself into a tizzy where I think, I can't do this is gonna go bad. And I think that's very natural because it's almost protective. If you have accepted that a race is not gonna go well before it even starts, you've kind of almost started to heal from it, which is insane. Like, that is not ideal and that is not high performance. So one thing that I do is I kind of have like a playlist of only positive thoughts that go through my head, and I force myself to it. So in a race, when the demons inevitably come, I'm always so nervous about this because I'm always expecting it, and I get it's in a race, the make or break point is always, how am I going to deal with that negative self-talk when it lands? And I just, as soon as I hear a thought, I just go, you're doing great, you're doing great, you're doing great, you're doing great. And I just say that over and over and over through the whole race. Even if I'm not doing great, you're doing great, you look great, you can do this, it's going to be great, it's great, 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 great. It's so basic, it's almost embarrassing, but I become my own biggest cheerleader. I try and look at a race as an opportunity to see what I can do rather than an opportunity to fail. So I try and get excited that this is my training, it's prepared me to now go and do something that I've never done before, to run faster or to place higher or to at least see what I've got in me. And looking at it like that as a positive opportunity rather than it's only going to go bad has really, really helped.
So that's really interesting because you're teaching your body to shift to more process-oriented goals and not so much on the outcome, which maybe takes a little bit of pressure off yourself. Erin, how about you?
I haven't had a ton of problems with being super nervous before races. If anything, naturally, I'm on the other end of the spectrum. I think especially when I was younger, in high school and everything, I would have a hard time focusing for races. I'd be like off doing a bunch of different things. Like, I wouldn't be nervous enough to bring enough attention that I needed to the race. But I think whether you're on either end of the spectrum, I would say the best thing you can do is just practice so that once you get to the race, it's almost like a habit. So whether that means, practice, bringing a lot of focus, for me, I would definitely try on hard workout days. Okay, I'm going to treat this like a race. I'm going to bring a lot of focus. I'm going to plan my day leading up to it so it becomes a habit. Or if you are someone who gets pretty nervous before races, maybe develop a routine that you practice once a week during practice, so that when you come to race, you can go through all those things. Maybe it's like doing a 5-minute meditation or anything like that, something to calm your nerves down. Have that as a routine, so when it comes to race day, it feels more like a routine and not like this is the end of the world, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. So just, practice that, and eventually, you'll kind of come to terms with those things.
I think the one thing I often tell people is who get nerves, that nerves can be a good thing too. So to view it as you care, therefore you're nervous, And that is energy that's going to help you. So that adrenaline is going to actually help you bring your best performance. It's just kind of like Erin, you're saying, is finding that happy balance in between being focused and caring versus being overcome by nerves so much that you're like paralyzed by it. Now, do either of you do any breathing techniques? Does that help?
I do, yeah. I definitely try to develop kind of a routine just in my daily life of doing some kind of meditation or breath work every day. For me, I feel like it just helps practice bringing focus to what I'm doing, staying present, which is something that's like translates to racing super well. So I try to do that stuff daily, and yeah, I found it's really helpful.
Do you have a program you use that you follow?
Yeah, I work with a sports psych named John Coleman who does a lot of work with breath work and everything like that. So some days it's something really short, even just like a couple minutes doing something. And then some days it's doing kind of like a longer full meditation and everything. So it really changes up a lot. But our goal is to kind of have just a range of different tactics so that if you do get to a point where you're like super nervous for a race or not feeling confident, just kind of practicing, finding out what works best with your routine, with your schedule and everything, and then just having those strategies available to you when you need them.
And have you noticed a difference with your own running and racing since you started implementing this?
We talk a lot about like being comfortable being uncomfortable. And then for me, like I'm kind of a distracted person, so having a time where I have to sit for 10 minutes just with my thoughts is uncomfortable for me. So it's just practicing, you know, I want to be somewhere else, but I'm here right now, which is, you know, something that happens when you're racing all the time. Breath work is definitely a major part of just something that can kind of connect you and ground you if you're getting to a point in a race where you're really hurting, you're panicking, you're getting distracted. Just turning your focus back on your breath in those moments, I found is super helpful for me.
Wow, that makes me really want to check this out. I don't know a whole lot
Yeah,
about it.
yeah, it's
cool.
interesting for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Any last thoughts from you, Jess?
I think sometimes it can be really anxiety provoking to have your routine thrown off at a race because there's so much that's not in your control that maybe is during practice, like meal times or good luck rituals, or sleep is a big one. But just going on the sleep one, for example, I always used to think if I didn't get a perfect sleep, how on earth was I going to race well? Because that's so true in training. But a lot of these things are overcomeable in the moment. I don't think any Olympian sleeps the night before the race. Did you guys? I didn't. Not a chance.
Yeah. She probably did.
Yeah, Erin was breathing. I did not, Melinda did not. Erin was dreaming. But you still perform well. You can overcome these things in the moment. So things that would maybe be overall deal breakers are not in a race. You can get more out of yourself than you think you can.
So I guess we've heard both ends of the spectrum on nerves before races, and hopefully other people are going to check out some meditation and breath work. I am now. Erin, you have me inspired.